The goal with charting is to separate the signal from the noise. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Money Flow Stock Market Review and Forecast. I'm your host, Dr. BJ Love, and I'll be bringing you this week's broadcast for November 7th, 2025. Now, the major averages reverse losses on possible government reopening. There was a wild finish to a volatile week. The major averages opened the period hitting new record highs for a second straight week, and once again, led by the strength in the technology sector. Now, Nvidia surged after announcing new deals with Palantir and a $1 billion investment in Nokia, one of the stocks that we hold, and we're going to cover it later on in the program. November is off to a rough start with the major averages snapping a 2-week win streak with headwinds mounting. Now, next week, we'll see all eyes will be on whether or not the government shutdown remains an issue. As we saw on Friday's reversal, those headwinds could quickly become tailwinds when resolved. Now, for the period, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 576 points and settled at 46,987. The S&P 500 gave up 111 points and closed at 6,729. The Nasdaq dropped 720 points, finishing at 23,000, while the small cap Russell 2000 lost 47 points and settled at 2,433. Now, the VIX, aka the fear gauge, fell 0.42 points and closed at 19.08. And as we reiterate, excuse me, on each one of these broadcasts, as long as that VIX fear gauge remains below the threshold of 20, the market seems to grind higher. And that is what we have been noticing over the past year. Now, crude oil prices increased by 31 cents and closed at $59.74 a barrel, still right below that $60 a barrel mark. Gold prices added $18.20 and finished at $4,009.20 an ounce. Silver prices closed at $48.66 per ounce, while Bitcoin closed the session at 103,047. Now, let's get right into these charts where we can see what the long-term trend still is, since we have witnessed and experienced, a short-term pullback. Here we go to our 4 grid, and this is our long-term weekly chart that we look at: the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial, the Nasdaq Composite, and the Russell 2000, the major indices that we monitor so we can know what state the market, the global market, is in. So we're going to go ahead and maximize these charts. We're going to start with the S&P 500. And as you can see, if you've been with us for a while, you know we have a proprietary software that lets us know when we are in a long-term uptrend, because we have a green background. And usually with that green background, we see these price bars, which represents 1 week of time of price action in this particular index, the S&P 500, and it is above a rising moving average. You notice that the moving average is rising, and ever since we got into this green background, which indicates that we are in a bull market or in a bull configuration, or we are in a long-term uptrend, since May of this year, we've just been going up, up nonstop. And then finally, we got a pause here on last week and this previous week, ending on November 7th, we see a short-term pullback. However, it did pull back to this rising moving average and bounced off. And that is what they call it, a warning right now, to be cautious, not to be too excited anymore, because things seem to be slowing down. We know we also have And our confirming indicator, the MACD, which is the moving average convergence divergence, right, which acts as a supporting indicator for the uptrend that we are experiencing right now. Remember, long-term trends dominate, short-term trends fluctuate. So we have time-tested methods and indicators that helps us to navigate these markets with confidence, clarity, and calmness. So we remain calm, we remain aware, and we understand that the profits that we have been enjoying since May in this major uptrend, major long-term uptrend with little short-term trend fluctuation, we have profited well. So that's the S&P 500, and you're going to see similar patterns on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We have a green background indicating that we are still in a long-term bull market as of November 7th, 2025. Now, that could change, but we'll just wait, watch, and see. But as for now, we're still in a bull market, and our confirming indicator MACD is still positive, confirming that this bull market should continue until we breach or move below this 10-week moving average, and then we will probably see some correction. And if it hits our 200 of our 40-week moving average and penetrates that, then we'll be in some major correction if that happens. But I don't see that happening right now, so we'll wait, watch, and see what happens next week. All right, we're going to move on to the tech heavy NASDAQ composite, same type of configuration. Since the month of May, we've been up, 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 up. Prices are above a rising moving average. We have a green background. See, that is the simplicity of our philosophy. As long as we have this green background in our proprietary software that helps us to navigate these markets with confidence, clarity, and calmness, we just remain calm. We see what's happening. Nothing major has changed at this particular point. We just had a down week, but that down week is taking place above this rising moving average. So we just continue to remain invested at this particular time. And we also have our confirming indicator, the MACD, and it is still positive. So that is the NASDAQ, and then we're going to move on now to the Russell 2000. And you can see it's a little bit more volatile because these are small caps and their price swings are a little bit higher than the uh, three other major indices that we discussed. But we still have the green background. We still have the rising moving average. Now it touched the rising moving average and it penetrated below. However, it did break back up and close above that rising moving average, and our MACD, our confirming indicator, is still positive. So what's our takeaway? As of November 7th, 2025, the major global market is yet in a bull market, and we're just awaiting to see what our uh, outcome is going to be with this government shutdown, and then that could shift. However, until we get the news that the that the government shutdown has ended and we're back, into normalcy with the payments that needs to be made, then we can just kind of be cautious at this moment. That is, we are in a neutral zone. However, but we do have a long-term bullish outlook. Okay, now with that, we're going to move on and then we're going to look at all of those commodities and indices that we talked about. Well, we looked at the VIX, and we're going to look at these on a daily chart. Okay, and as we can see that the VIX is starting to show some sign of life. However, we don't see enough conviction. We don't see enough horsepower. We don't see enough sustainability at this point to say it's going to break above that threshold of 20 where it could start to affect the trend, the major trend of the market. So right now it's still in the neutral zone. So we also look at oil. And as you can see on the daily chart, slash CL, oil has just been just down, 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 down to $55 a barrel. And now it is just consolidating at that. Where did it close? We looked at around $60, around $60. But there is no major pressure, buying pressure that is causing it to like move up, up, up. It is just still in a intermediate down trend. What else do we look at? We looked at oil. We look at gold. Gold was, I mean, just really since the beginning of the year, around about this is the daily chart. So for the last 3 months, it's been up, up, up nonstop. We hit a high of around 43,000, I mean $44,300.98. And ever since then, it's been meandering and consolidating. However, there is nothing showing us that there is any conviction for a major move in gold at this time. We're going to look at silver. And same pattern. However, we do see a little bit of a bottom. Again, with the indicators that I monitor, it just shows that this is a little bit of a shift. Nothing really to be concerned about. I won't be jumping back into silver because we had a major um, uh, profit with silver when we saw when silver gave us the signal at the beginning of the year. We invested in a stock called KGC, and we bought KGC at around $18, and we watch it go all the way up to 27, and it's been consolidating along with the silver indices since then. This is the beauty of our system. It alerts us when a major trend or a major sector like the precious metals and like gold and this and that and the other, and it gives us the signal to buy, and it helps us to stay in those investments until they exhaust themselves. But he went all the way up. This particular stock went all the way up to almost $28. I mean, this was a nice, nice, nice return that we had over a long period of time. If we go to our yearly chart, you can see when we really got in here at around $9. $9 up to $28. That's 300% return on our money. 300% return. We cashed out and we're just waiting for another entry point. So that is gold. And we're going to look at Bitcoin. Okay, looking at Bitcoin, as you can see, it rose for a while. Our particular stock that we were invested in with Bitcoin is BITF. Now we bought this when we got the signal right here back in September the 8th. And we bought this particular stock at $3 and no, a dollar, what is it, $1.76, and we went all the way up to $6. You're talking about 300-400% return on your money in a matter of weeks. And now we're going to look at the stock that we talked about that we invested in with Nokia, where Nvidia invested $1 billion in. Okay, we got the signal here to buy at what is it? $5, went all the way up to $6. So there you have it. We do wait